What's up, Mafia? Defense wins championships, and we're out here today asking the question that everyone thinks they know the answer to. Two Eagles defenses, two completely different rosters. One of them was just built different. We're talking 2024 versus 2026. Which unit is actually better? Because if you think the answer is obvious, I need you to sit down and stay with me. It's time to figure out which defense is better. So, let's get it mixing. Before we do anything, we gotta be honest about that 2024 defense. Not what it felt like, but what it actually was. Because people have short memories, and I'm not letting that happen today. That defense had layers. At edge, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, and Jalen Hunt. You had a veteran presence leading the future of this Philadelphia pass rush. Brandon Graham was still making plays at 36. Josh Sweat was your best pure pass rusher. On the inside, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, two of the most physically dominant interior players in the entire NFL. Jalen Carter was earning Pro Bowl recognition. Jordan Davis was becoming a force on the inside. And Milton Williams, behind them, was a legitimate rotational weapon. With this defensive line, you had to pick your poison. You couldn't run it, and your quarterback wasn't safe. They were sending pressure every single time. At linebacker, this was the introduction to Zack Baun. And in 2024, Zack Baun was everything we needed. That man put up 151 tackles and 3.5 sacks. And that's not a coincidence. He was a player who locked up the inside in a perfect system under Vic Fangio. And behind him, you had Nakobe Dean, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and Oren Burks. That's real depth at a position that matters. Now, here's where things get interesting. That secondary group in 2024, that was a loaded room. We had Darius Slay, 6-time Pro Bowler, and he was still starting. Quinyon Mitchell, in year one, was already shutting people down. Cooper DeJean immediately became the best nickel corner in football according to Pro Football Focus. CJ Gardner-Johnson was there, bringing the juice and the energy as safety. Reed Blankenship was the play caller and was a reliable starter. And then you had reliable backups in Avonte Maddox and Isaiah Rodgers. That's 11 defensive back on this 53-man rosters. Count them up, 11. Every week it was something different. It was Darius Slay showing his veteran presence. It was Quinyon Mitchell showing at a young age that he's going to be one of the best corners in the league. Cooper DeJean played lockdown, and if anything happened, we had reliable backups who could come in and provide immediate relief. That's what made this defense dangerous, top to bottom on every single level. Alright, now let's talk 2026. I know we haven't played a game yet, but we legitimately have some true potential and some real talent. But let's not pretend that everything carried over clean, because it didn't. We did lose a lot of players, but here are the people who actually stayed. Jalen Carter is still here, and if we're being honest, Carter coming into a healthy 2026 season could be the most important factor of this entire defense. In 2024, Jalen Carter was dominant. In 2025, he dealt with his lower injuries, and we could see that he wasn't really himself. The hope based on OTAs and minicamp, it looks real, and the 2024 version of Jalen Carter seems to be back. Jordan Davis just got paid. The Eagles gave him a 3-year extension. That's how much this Philadelphia Eagles organization believes in Jordan Davis. Zack Baun is still here, and he's still locked in. He's the veteran presence in that linebacker room. Quinyon Mitchell entering into year 3. He already looked like a Pro Bowler in year 2. He has Pro Bowl caliber talent on the outside. Cooper DeJean, still the best nickel corner in football. Vic Fangio confirmed heading into 2026 that Cooper DeJean will stay in the slot. Still technical and still dangerous. Now, here's what's new to this Philadelphia Eagles defense. We added Jonathan Greenard at edge rusher. This is the biggest addition this defense made in the entire offseason. Jonathan Greenard was acquired via draft day trade and figures to be the top edge rusher on this entire roster. Now, he only had 3 sacks last year, but here's what most people missed. He generated the second most pressures amongst all edge rushers in 2024, only behind Myles Garrett. That's not a guy on the decline. That's a guy who deserves better and fits better on this Philadelphia Eagles defense. We signed Tariq Woolen at cornerback on a 1-year deal worth up to $15 million. He gives this defense length and athleticism on the outside. And from what we saw at OTAs, this man came in ready to work and to prove a point. The linebacker room added Jahad Campbell and Smile London Jr. They're young, they're athletic, and they're building to something better. But here's where I need to be straight with you. The safety room in 2026 is not the same as the safety room in 2024. Reed Blankenship is gone. He signed a deal with the Houston Texans. Sidney Brown is gone. He was traded to the Atlanta Falcons in March. And CJ Gardner-Johnson, he was gone back in 2025. So what did this Philadelphia Eagles safety room actually have left on the roster? We have second-year starter Andrew Makuba. He's the most talented safety out of that entire group. Andrew Makuba is coming back from a leg injury he suffered during the 2025 season. The Eagles are looking at Andrew Makuba to become a real leader in that secondary group. This is the year that he has to take a massive leap. Marcus Epps is back on the roster, on a 1-year deal. He's a solid player. He'll give you exactly what you need, but nobody's confusing Marcus Epps for CJ Gardner-Johnson. Michael Carter II is also on this roster, vying for that second safety spot. This seems like an experiment co-signed by Vic Fangio. To me, this safety group is the biggest question mark on this entire roster. This is a position that went from being loaded to being questionable, and in the Vic Fangio defense, safeties matter. They matter a lot. But before we continue, and before I give my take, I want to hear from the Mafia. Drop it in the comment section below. The 2024 defense or the 2026 defense? Which unit do you trust more? And tell me why. Because I already know what I think, but I want to know what you all think. Keep watching, because my answer, it might just surprise you. Alright, now let's go level by level. Let's actually do this. Let's break down the defenses per year. Defensive line of 2024. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, Moro Jomo, and Thomas Booker. In 2026, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Jomo, Ty Robinson, and Byron Young. Milton Williams is gone. He cashed out in free agency. He was a legitimate rotational weapon, quick off the ball and disruptive. His skill set is something that you just can't replace overnight. But this group is still one of the deepest in all of football. Moro Jomo is still playing at a high level and is entering into a contract year, and playing like he has something to prove. Ty Robinson is in year 2, and he's still here trying to prove that he belongs on this Philadelphia Eagles defense. So for the defensive line, I gotta give the edge to 2024. But that gap is smaller than you think. Now let's move on to edge rusher. In 2024, the gap is smaller than you actually think. We had Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, and Jalix Hunt. In 2026, we have Jonathan Greenard, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, and Arnold Ebiketie. Now, if you look and you compare it side by side, this one is actually closer than you think. Jonathan Greenard brings a higher ceiling than what Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham were bringing at that stage. The pressure numbers do not lie. If Jonathan Greenard plays like the 2024 version of himself, this is an upgrade. But Josh Sweat in his prime and Brandon Graham's veteran leadership, that's proven. Now Jonathan Greenard, that's a gamble. It's a gamble we're willing to take, but a gamble nonetheless. So the better edge group goes to 2024, but only slightly. Now on to the linebacker group. In 2024, we had Zack Baun, Nakobe Dean, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and Oren Burks. In 2026, we have Zack Baun, Jahad Campbell, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and Smile Munden. Zack Baun is the constant. He's the anchor at that linebacker position. Jahad Campbell showed promise as a rookie in 2025. The depth got a lot younger, but younger can only mean better if these players actually develop. This is actually where the 2026 class could outperform 2024 in the long run. So I'm gonna have to give the edge to 2024 for its proven depth. Now on to the secondary, and we're gonna start with the cornerbacks. In 2024, we had Darius Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Isaiah Rodgers, Eli Ricks, and Kelee Ringo. Before we do continue, Kelee Ringo does not equate to any of this. None of it. At all. He does not matter in this equation. So you can go ahead and just throw that out. In 2026, we have Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Tariq Woolen, Jonathan Jones, Jacorian Bennett, Michael Carter II, and once again, Kelee Ringo. And I'll say it again, in case you didn't hear me the first time, Kelee Ringo does not count. Darius Slay is gone and retired now. But Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are better now than they were in 2024. Both these young guys made All-Pro in 2025. Tariq Woolen adds actual length at this corner position. This position group might actually be better in 2026 because these guys actually grew into full-blown stars. So I'm giving the edge to the 2026 group. Now on to the safety group, and if you think like me, this is going to be easy. In 2024, we had CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown. In 2026, we have Drew Makuba, Marcus Epps, and Michael Carter II. This is where the 2024 defense wins by a landslide. CJ Gardner-Johnson was electric, and he brought that heat every single time. Reed Blankenship was reliable, and he was never out of position. The Philadelphia Eagles had a real identity at safety. In 2026, Drew Makuba needs to become that guy. Marcus Epps is solid, but he's not the end-all be-all at the safety position. And Michael Carter II is just an experiment to see if he does fit the role of a safety. So by a landslide, I give it to 2024, and it was nowhere near close. Alright, so here's where I stand with all this. The 2024 Eagles defense was the better unit, and I'm not going back and forth with it. That defense had something the 2026 defense hasn't proved yet. It had depth at every layer with players who had already done it before. Players who could step in and you wouldn't see a drop at talent. Not players who might do it. Players who have proven it and have done it in the past. Darius Slay had been to 6 Pro Bowls. Brandon Graham had been doing this for 16 years. CJ Gardner-Johnson made plays that changed the landscape of games. Reed Blankenship was always the steady hand on the back end. Josh Sweat was always a menace when he was healthy. And Milton Williams was developing into a real problem on the inside. That 2024 roster was a menace, and everything they did had intention. There were many games when the offense fell flat, and the defense carried us on to victory. We played cohesively as a unit, and when one man went down, it was always the next man up mentality, and the talent never dropped off. This 2026 group has real stars with real talent. Jalen Carter, Zack Baun, Quinyon Mitchell, and DeJean. That's an elite core 4, and Jonathan Greenard could absolutely be something special. But the depth, this is where this defense takes a step back. When your safety room goes from CJ Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship to Marcus Epps and Michael Carter II, that's not a lateral move. That's a downgrade. And in the Vic Fangio system, where safeties are asked to carry a real responsibility, that matters a lot. And look, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. You're thinking the corners are better, and you're absolutely right. You're thinking Carter and Baun are looking better now than they did in 2024, and you might be right about that. You might be right about Jalen Carter, if he's healthy. Zack Baun is still as good as he ever was. But a defense isn't just about your top 5 players. It's about the whole unit and the whole entire depth chart. And when I look at the 2024 depth chart from top to bottom, I see a defense where the 4th and 5th options at most positions were guys who actually played and produced in this league. When I look at that 2026 depth chart, I see a defense that has a higher ceiling if everything goes right, but a lower floor if everything goes wrong. And that's the thing, I want to be wrong about all this. Because if Andrew Makuba takes a huge leap, if Jonathan Greenard plays like his 2024 pressures number suggests that he can play, and if Jalen Carter comes back healthy and plays like a man on a mission, then we might be looking at a defense that matches 2024 by November. But right now, in June, on paper, that 2024 unit absolutely dominates. But here's what I keep coming back to. That 2024 defense, it was built for that moment. That season, that Super Bowl run. It had veterans on that team who had actually been through something. Brandon Graham, 36 years old, who had planned on playing his last season. Darius Slay, putting a stamp on his all-pro career by going out there and getting a ring. CJ Gardner-Johnson going out there to prove himself, playing with everything that he actually had. Those guys knew what they were playing for. The 2026 defense is being built for the next moment, the next chapter. Quinyon Mitchell and DeJean are entering into their primes. Jalen Carter might actually fully be healthy. Jonathan Greenard is hungry and wants to prove himself in a new system. And Zack Baun has something to prove after last year's season ended the way that it did. The 2024 defense was a product of years of roster building. The 2026 defense is still becoming what it's going to be. And maybe, just maybe, by the time this season ends, we'll be having a very different conversation. One about which defense was actually better. If you rock with this video, hit that like button right now. It helps the channel out more than you know. Share this video with another Eagles fan who may have a different opinion. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And follow us on all of our socials. All the links are in our description. And once again, I've been Brotha Shy, and this has been the Midnight Green Mafia.